Kicked out for a lie. My sister's false accusation. I never imagined I'd be telling this story, but here goes. I'm Elliot, 26 years old, and 3 years ago, my life was completely upended by a false accusation from my older sister Gemma, who's 29. I grew up in a small Ohio town with my parents, John, 55M, and Lisa, 53F, and Gemma. We lived in a modest two-story house my parents bought when they first got married. It wasn't fancy, but it was home. My dad was a high school math teacher, and my mom was a nurse at the local hospital. We weren't wealthy, but they made sure we had everything we needed. Gemma and I were pretty close as kids. We'd spend hours playing in the backyard, climbing our old oak tree, and inventing elaborate games. She was always the leader, making up the rules and stories, while I was content to follow along. But as we got older, things started to change. Gemma was always an overachiever, top of her class, debate team captain, and she seemed to excel at everything. I, on the other hand, was more laid back. I did okay in school, but I was never as driven as Gemma. This difference started to strain our relationship as we entered adolescence. By the time Gemma left for college, we'd grown apart. She went to a prestigious university on scholarship, while I stayed local and attended community college. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with my life, so I took a variety of classes trying to figure it out. After graduating, Gemma moved to the city and started working at a big marketing agency. She'd come home for holidays and occasional weekends, full of stories about her exciting life and great career. I couldn't help feeling inferior. Meanwhile, I was still living at home, working part-time at the local grocery store, trying to figure out my next move. Despite our differences, I always thought Gemma and I were fine. We weren't as close as we used to be, but I just assumed that was part of growing up. I had no idea how quickly everything could fall apart. The missing ring and my family's betrayal. 3 years ago, Gemma and her boyfriend, Tom, 31M, got engaged. They'd been dating for 2 years, and everyone was thrilled. Tom was a lawyer from a wealthy family, and my parents adored him. He proposed with a stunning diamond ring that had been in his family for generations. Gemma was overjoyed and couldn't stop showing it off. The engagement party was a huge event. My parents invited what felt like the entire town to our house. I remember feeling a little out of place among the affluent people Gemma and Tom had invited from the city. I stuck close to my old high school friends who were still in town, feeling more comfortable with them than with Gemma's sophisticated crowd. A month after the engagement, everything went to hell. It was a Tuesday afternoon, and I had the day off. I was in my room playing video games, enjoying the quiet house. Gemma was visiting for a week, taking some time off work to start planning the wedding with our mom. I heard Gemma and Mom return home from a shopping trip. They were talking and laughing downstairs. I didn't think much of it and went back to my game. About an hour later, I heard Gemma scream. I ran downstairs to see what was going on, and she immediately accused me of taking her engagement ring. She explained that she'd taken it off while doing dishes and left it on the kitchen counter. When she went back to get it, it was gone. I was stunned and quickly denied taking it, but Gemma refused to listen. She kept shrieking that I was the only other person in the house, so it had to be me. She even brought up how I was always jealous of her success and how I probably wanted to sell the ring so I could finally move out and achieve something with my life. Our parents came home in the midst of the chaos, and Gemma recounted her version of events. To my horror, they believed her completely. My mom started crying, asking how I could do such a thing to my own sister. My dad just looked at me with disappointment in his eyes. They started searching my room, turning everything upside down. They didn't find the ring, but they did discover some money I had saved from my grocery store job. It wasn't much, maybe a few $100s, but Gemma quickly seized on it, claiming I must have sold the ring and that's where the money came from. I tried to explain that I'd been saving for months to take some classes at the community college, but no one listened. The next few days were a nightmare. My parents and Gemma repeatedly pressured me to confess and return the ring. They threatened to call the police if I didn't come clean. I was terrified and felt completely alone. No one in my family believed me, and I was treated like a criminal in my own home. I tried reaching out to some friends, but most had moved away after high school. The few who remained in town seemed unwilling to get involved in family drama. I felt more alone than ever. After a week of relentless accusations and threats, my parents made a decision that would change my life forever. They told me I had to leave. They said they couldn't trust me anymore and that I was bringing shame on the family. They gave me 2 days to pack my belongings and get out. I was devastated. I had nowhere to go and didn't know what to do. My best friend from high school, Ryan, 26M, who had recently returned to town after serving in the Army, offered to let me crash on his couch for a while, but I knew I couldn't stay there long. His apartment was small, and he was still getting back on his feet. I packed everything I could into a backpack and an old duffel bag, clothes, books, my laptop, and a few mementos from better times. As I was leaving, I saw Gemma watching me from her old bedroom window. I thought I caught a glint of doubt in her eyes, but she quickly turned away. Walking out of that house, the only one I'd ever known, was the hardest thing I'd ever done. I felt betrayed and abandoned by those who were supposed to love me unconditionally. The saddest part was that I had done nothing wrong. Building a new life. For the next 2 months, I bounced between Ryan's couch and cheap motels when I could afford them. I took on any odd jobs I could find to make ends meet. I worked as a dishwasher, dog walker, and even spent a few weeks on a construction site. It was tough, but I was determined to prove my innocence and succeed on my own. Eventually, I landed a steady job at a warehouse on the outskirts of town. The work was hard, the hours were long, but the pay was consistent. It wasn't spectacular, but it allowed me to rent a modest room in a shared house with some other warehouse workers. I slowly started rebuilding my life, but the pain of what had happened never went away. I'd lie awake at night, replaying the events in my mind, wondering how things had gone so wrong. How could my family have turned against me so quickly? How could Gemma, who grew up with me and knew me better than anyone, believe I would do such a thing? I cut all communication with my family. They tried to reach me several times at first. My mom would leave heartfelt voicemails, urging me to come home and make things right. My dad sent a few terse text messages saying we needed to talk. Gemma even showed up at the warehouse once, but I refused to see her. I couldn't bear to speak with them after what they had done. They were no longer my family. For 3 years, this was my life. I made new friends at work and in my shared home. We'd hang out after shifts, drink beer, and watch games. It wasn't the life I had envisioned for myself, but it was mine, and I had built it from scratch. I worked hard and was even promoted to shift supervisor at the warehouse. I started taking online classes to study business management. I was slowly figuring out what I wanted to do with my life. But there was always a part of me that was angry and wounded by what had occurred. I missed my old life and family, but I couldn't forgive them for not believing me. Every holiday season was tough. When I saw families shopping together or heard Christmas music, I felt a deep sadness for what I had lost. The truth revealed, and a crossroads. Then last week, I received an unexpected email from my father. The subject line simply stated, "We need to talk." The message was brief, saying they needed to meet with me immediately and that it was about the ring incident. At first, I was tempted to dismiss it, as I did with all their previous attempts to reach me. But something made me hesitate. Maybe it was curiosity, or maybe a small part of me still wanted closure. After arguing with myself for hours, I decided to hear them out. I called my father, and what he said left me stunned. The ring had been found. Gemma had accidentally knocked it into the garbage disposal while doing dishes. She only realized this a few days ago when the disposal started making unusual noises, and they called a plumber to inspect it. My father claimed Gemma was distraught when she realized what had happened, and that I had been telling the truth all along. He said they all felt terrible about what they had done to me and wanted to make things right. I hung up the phone, experiencing a swirl of emotions. On one hand, I felt vindicated. I had always told the truth, and now everyone knew it. However, I was furious. I was outraged that it took 3 years to find out the truth, that I had missed so much time with my family, and that I had struggled alone for so long when I had done nothing wrong. Now I'm at a crossroads. My family wants me to return home. They claim they want to make things right. Gemma has been calling and messaging non-stop, asking for forgiveness. But I'm not sure I can forgive them. They kicked me out without hesitation, chose to believe the worst of me, and left me to fend for myself for 3 years. Part of me wants to tell them all to go to hell and let them deal with the shame of what they did to me. But another part of me misses my old life and wonders if there's a way to rebuild what we've lost. I don't know what to do. Should I give them a chance to make amends? Or should I continue living the life I've created for myself without them? I'm torn and could really use some outside perspective on this whole situation. Update 1. A difficult reunion. It's been a week since my previous post, and a lot has happened. I want to thank everyone for their advice and support. It truly helped me process my emotions and figure out what to do. After much debate, I decided to meet with my family. I felt I owed it to myself to confront them and seek closure, even if I wasn't convinced about reconciliation. We decided to meet at a neutral site, a modest coffee shop in the next town over. I chose it because it was far enough from our hometown, that we wouldn't run into anyone we knew, yet close enough that everyone could get there without too much effort. I was incredibly nervous on the day of the meeting. I hadn't seen my family in 3 years, and I wasn't sure what to expect. I arrived at the coffee shop early and chose a table in the corner where we could have some privacy. When they walked in, it was like a punch to the gut. Seeing them after 3 years was intense. My mother burst into tears the moment she saw me. She looked older than I remembered, with more gray hair and wrinkles around her eyes. My father appeared weary and tired, his shoulders drooping as if he were carrying a huge weight. Gemma couldn't look me in the eye at first. She seemed smaller and less confident than the sister I remembered. We sat down, and for a while no one knew what to say. Then they all started talking at once, with apologies pouring out. My parents said they had failed as parents by not trusting me and kicking me out. They admitted that they had regretted their decision every day since, but pride and humiliation had prevented them from reaching out sooner. My father, who had always been a man of few words, spoke for what felt like hours about how he had replayed those days in his head, trying to figure out how he could have been so blind. He claimed he had always prided himself on being fair and reasonable, but that emotion had clouded his judgment when it mattered most. My mother, through tears, told me how she had kept my room exactly as I had left it, hoping that one day I would return. She said she would wake up in the middle of the night thinking she had heard me coming home, only to realize what had truly transpired. Gemma burst into tears, stating she would never forgive herself for accusing me and damaging our relationship. She mentioned how she had always looked up to me when we were kids, even though I was younger. She admitted that she had been so preoccupied with her own life and problems that she had lost sight of what was truly important. As they talked, memories of our childhood came flooding back. I remembered how Gemma stood up for me when I was bullied in middle school. I thought about all the times we had laughed together, shared secrets, and supported each other during difficult times. It made the betrayal hurt even more, but it also reminded me of the good times we'd had. I heard everything they said, but I couldn't bring myself to forgive them just yet. The pain and resentment from the past 3 years were still too raw. I told them that I needed time to process things. They seemed to understand and didn't push for more. My mom wanted to hug me before we left, but I backed away. I wasn't ready for that kind of closeness yet. The hurt look on her face almost convinced me to change my mind. but I stayed firm. I needed to protect myself emotionally. After the meeting, I returned to my apartment and carefully considered what I wanted. Did I want to go back to my old life? Could I ever trust them again? Was it worth trying to repair our relationship? I realized that while I missed having a family, I had also grown significantly in the past 3 years. I had become self-sufficient, strong, and had built a life for myself from scratch. I wasn't the same person they'd kicked out 3 years before. I thought about my warehouse job, my online education, and the friends I'd made. I had worked hard to get where I was, and I was proud of what I had accomplished on my own. The thought of abandoning that and returning to my old life felt wrong. At the same time, I couldn't deny that seeing my family had stirred up a lot of emotions. Despite everything, I still loved and missed them. I wondered if I could have a relationship with them while still keeping my independence. After a few days of deliberation, I reached a decision. I called my parents and explained that while I appreciated their apology, I was not yet ready to fully reconcile. I told them that I needed more time and space to heal. I also established some boundaries. I indicated I was willing to maintain minimal contact with them, but I wasn't moving back home or pretending nothing had happened. I told them that if we were to continue our connection, it had to be on my terms. They expressed disappointment but said they understood. They promised to respect my boundaries and allow me the time I needed. My mother asked if she might call me once a week to check in, and I agreed, figuring it would be a good way to gradually re-establish trust. As for Gemma, I've decided to keep my distance for now. Her actions had affected me the most, and I wasn't ready to forgive her just yet. I told her I needed more time before I could consider having another relationship with her. She was upset but explained that she understood and would wait until I was ready. It's been a tough week with many emotional highs and lows. I've had moments when I question my decision, wondering if I'm being too harsh or if I'm passing up an opportunity to reunite with my family. But then I recall how quickly they turned on me, and I realize I'm doing the right thing by taking things slowly. I've also started looking into therapy options. Many of you suggested it in the comments, and I believe it would be beneficial to have a professional to speak with while I navigate this tricky situation. I've never been to therapy before, so I'm a little nervous, but I think it could be helpful for me. For the time being, my primary focus is on my job and studies. I have a huge project coming up at work, and I'm determined not to let all this family drama distract me from my goals. I'm also thinking about moving to a better apartment. I've been saving, and I think I'm ready for a place of my own without roommates. Thank you again for your support. It's comforting to know that there are people out there who understand and care, even if we've never met. I'll provide an update if anything substantial changes. Update 2. Slow progress and new insights. It's been almost a month since my last update, and I'd like to share some developments. I've been sticking to the boundaries I've set with my family. We've had a few phone calls and text messages, but nothing particularly intense. It's been okay. Awkward at times, but not as painful as I expected. My parents have mostly respected my wishes. They check in every now and then, but they don't ask for more than I'm prepared to give. I can tell they're working hard to rebuild trust, but it's a slow process. My mother calls once a week, as we agreed. These calls were strained at first with long silences, but they're becoming easier. We usually discuss neutral topics such as her job at the hospital, the weather, and my online education. It's not much, but it's a start. My father has been sending me short emails, usually just to check in or share something he thinks I'd be interested in. Last week, he forwarded me an article about a new business opening in our hometown. It was a small gesture, but it reminded me of how he would clip newspaper stories for me when I was younger. Gemma has struggled with the barrier I'd created between us. She sent me many long, emotional texts, apologizing and pleading for a chance to make things right. I've responded simply, stating that I need more time. It's difficult, but I'm holding firm on this. I know she's hurting, but I'm not prepared to deal with her feelings on top of mine. The big news is that I've started therapy. I found a counselor who specializes in family trauma, and we've had a few sessions so far. It's been tough to bring up all the pain from the past, but I believe it's helping. My therapist is assisting me in processing my anger and trust issues, as well as providing me with strategies for setting healthy boundaries. In our last session, we discussed how the incident with the ring was more than just the accusation, but also years of feeling like I didn't measure up to Gemma's accomplishments. It's made me realize that there were problems in our family dynamic long before the ring incident, and that healing will require addressing those as well. One unexpected result of all this is that I've become closer to my friends, particularly Ryan. They've been incredibly supportive throughout the entire ordeal. Ryan even offered to accompany me to any future family meetings for moral support. It's taught me that family is more than just blood. It's about who supports you when things get rough. Work has been a welcome distraction. I've poured myself into my career and even received a modest promotion. I'm now in charge of inventory management for my shift, which means added responsibility and a minor pay increase. It's nice to have something positive to focus on. In terms of my living situation, I've decided to stay where I am for the time being. It's not much, but it's mine, and symbolizes the independence I've worked so hard for. My parents offered to help me find a better place, but I declined. I have to do this on my own. However, I've started to seriously consider options for furthering my studies. A state university located about an hour away offers night classes. I'm considering applying to their business program. It would be a significant move, but I think I'm ready for it. Overall, I'm taking it one day at a time. Some days are harder than others. There are times when I mourn our easy connection as a family, but then I recall how fast they turned on me, and I realize I can't rush this process. My therapist thinks it's normal to have mixed feelings about everything. She encourages me to be patient with myself and not feel obligated to forgive before I'm ready. We're working on techniques for dealing with upcoming family gatherings and holidays, which are making me more apprehensive than I'd like to admit. For the time being, my priorities are healing and building a life I can be proud of, with or without my family. It's not easy, but I'm optimistic about the future. I'm learning that it's okay to put myself first, and that setting boundaries does not make me a horrible person. Thank you for your continued support. Your comments and messages have provided me with strength during this process. It's comforting to know I'm not alone in coping with family issues like these. I'll provide an update if anything substantial changes. Update 3. A new chapter. It's been 6 months since my original post, so I thought it was time for a final update. A lot has changed over the past few months. The biggest news is that I've decided to relocate for a new job opportunity. It's a significant advancement in my career, and I'm really looking forward to the new challenges. The job is with a logistics company, and the work is similar to what I did at the warehouse, but on a much larger scale. It's a management role, which I've been working towards for a while. The salary is significantly higher than what I was making previously, and it includes benefits like health insurance and a 401k plan. Before making this decision, I had a long conversation with my therapist. We discussed how this move would impact my healing process and my relationship with my family. Ultimately, we agreed that this could be a good thing for me, an opportunity to fully stand on my own 2 feet and define myself outside of the family drama. I informed my parents about the move last week. They were surprised and disappointed, yet they expressed their understanding. My mother cried a little, saying she had hoped we'd have more time to repair our relationship before my departure. My father was more stoic, but I could tell he was disappointed too. They were both concerned about me being alone in a new place, but I told them that I'd be okay. Gemma took it the hardest. After I told her, she showed up unannounced at my apartment, pleading with me not to go. She admitted that she felt like she was losing me all over again. It was a challenging conversation, but I held my ground. I informed her that this was something I needed to do for myself, and that our relationship wasn't in a position where her opinion could influence my decision. Our family relationship is improving, but it's not perfect. We've had several family dinners in recent months. They've been uncomfortable and awkward at times, but we're gradually learning to be around each other again. Trust is still a major issue. I sometimes question their motives, wondering if they truly believe what they say or if they're simply trying to ease their guilt. My therapist has been crucial throughout this. She has helped me analyze my emotions and establish boundaries. She has emphasized that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or pretending that the trauma never happened. It's about letting go of my anger in order to find peace of mind. I've taken that to heart. While I don't believe I'll ever forget what happened, I'm attempting to forgive my family. Not for their sake, but for mine. It was hard to carry around all of my anger and bitterness, and I'm ready to let it go. As I prepare for this move, I've been thinking about everything that has transpired. 3 years ago, I thought my life was over. I'd lost everything, including everyone I cared about. But now I see how much I've learned from that experience. I'm stronger, more independent, and have a better understanding of my own worth than I ever had. I don't know what the future holds for me and my family. We intend to stay in touch once I relocate, with weekly phone calls and visits during the holidays. It's a start. Perhaps with time and distance, we will be able to create something new. For the time being, my attention is focused on the future. I'm excited about my new job, the new city, and the opportunities that await me. I've started looking for apartments online and researching the area where I'll be living. It's a mix of excitement and trepidation, but I'm largely looking forward to this next chapter in my life. Whatever happens with my family, I'm confident I'll be okay. I've shown myself that I can handle whatever life throws at me, and I've learned the value of surrounding myself with people who believe in and support me, whether they're related or not. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.